Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a first impression tutorial swatches overview of the brand new Natasha Denona TrioChrome Palette. I just got this from Sephora. I want to tell you all about it, the price, where it's made, show you swatches, then we're going to demo it, do a full look, see how the product performs, see if the shadows are blendable, pigmented, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe and let's go ahead and begin. Starting off with the box packaging, it has this really pretty kind of deep purple color. The actual packaging here is more green, but it does have that purple shift. It's just a little bit more intense on the actual palette. It's gonna be hard for me to show you, but very pretty. Here is the inside of the palette. So as you can see, you do get 12 matte shades and 3 trio chromes. This palette retails for $129. There is the Sephora sale going on right now, and I am a rouge, so I did get 20% off. So I ended up paying $103.20 and then obviously tax added on. So if you're gonna pick it up, the sale goes through the 9th. So I would say get on it then to get your percentage off. This palette is limited edition, made in Italy and cruelty free. I wanna read off the Sephora app to kind of tell you a little bit more about it. They describe it as a palette with 3 different pressed pigment multi-chrome shades in the center of each row and their complementary tones to complete a makeup look. The palette provides maximum color payoff with minimal effort, blending seamlessly to create vibrant, ultra pigmented, long-lasting looks. So looking at this, because there is a multi-chrome in the center here, I'm assuming that this is a color story, which doesn't surprise me because I love kind of orangey, peachy, and purple together. And then you have the more cool toned, really pastel purple here, and then you have the more green here. So I can see how it's laid out that way, and I think that would be helpful because this is kind of a interesting color story. Now, in terms of size, I know people are gonna want reference. So when I put my Glam palette next to it, you can see that this is a bigger palette, the TrioChrome palette. It is very similar, I would say the same to the BabsBeauty palette. Wish that she would have done it in the $65 price range with the smaller pans. So it's the same amount of shades, but the actual pan size is smaller. So I'm gonna show you a close-up just so you can kind of gauge. But really, I don't know, I just feel like I would have much rather seen this at the $65 price range with the smaller pans. So I pulled my hair back. I wanna go ahead and start swatching these. I have to say, upon first impression, a lot of these look pretty light, almost like a pastel, interesting kind of like grungy, muted color, almost like a vintage. I don't know how to describe it, but sometimes they translate darker on the eye or when they're swatched. There is a lot of light shades in here though, and that's one thing that worries me just in terms of deeper skin tones being able to use this palette. A lot of these just look so incredibly light. So we'll have to see. I wanna go ahead and swatch them by row as she says, and we'll kind of see what the pigmentation's like. So here are the first row shades. I have to say they swatch very nice and pigmented, the mattes as well as the multi-chrome, but there is some light tones in there. Here are the swatches of the middle row, so the purple row. I just wish that maybe like 1 or 2 of those light pastel colors would have been a deeper shade, but again, they swatch very pigmented. I'm just concerned at how light they are. And then here is the bottom row. Again, like that top shade, I wish we would have just omitted it, but we'll see how these apply on the eye. Everything's swatching, I have to say, beautifully. So now that we've done the swatches, I've got you zoomed in, we're gonna start on the look and see how these blend. The first shade I'm going in with is this lime green. So I'm curious to see how this will work because it did swatch very pigmented on my hand, but it is such a light shade. I mean, this really is like a neon green. So I'm curious how much color we can get. And that's the problem, like I said, people with deeper skin tones, I just don't know if some of these shades are going to show up. So I just wanted to note that. So I'm kind of using this all over my crease, inner corner. So this is gonna be kind of like our base or our transition, if you will. Gonna kind of pull this out too, further than I typically do. Next, I'm gonna go into this little bit grungier mustard kind of lime color. This one has a little bit more mustard yellow to it. It's a little bit deeper as well, but not much. I think I'm gonna work on a halo eye today to really make that multi-chrome pop. Just kind of building here. This is a beautiful color. It honestly looks like puke. If you like those like pukey colors, mustard pukey colors, this color will probably be up your alley. And then just going back in with my first brush just to really buff everything out, making sure that I'm pulling this out. There is powder kick up in the pan on the mattes. Just wanted to say that. I'm not noticing a ton of fallout on my face. I might with the deeper shades. They're blending very easy, effortless, so that's nice. Making sure that I'm really pulling this out. Just to show you kind of the powder kick up so you can get an idea. It's definitely there. Now I'm gonna move into the deepest color here. This is a very deep green tinged, I don't want to say green because last time I got dragged, but it really is a green. Last time I talked about a Huda palette that had a green like tone to it, people were like, there's no green. So I was like, okay, there was a green, but this is one of those that looks almost brown, or it could look brown on camera, but it definitely has a very deep army green tone. So I'm using a very small brush, focusing this on the outer corner and the inner corner. I'm actually gonna switch to a pencil brush to really get this packed in there. So I'm really not blending at all right now. I'm just packing, kind of placing it. I'm seeing some fallout, which not surprised by. And then once I have it placed, I'm taking a smaller brush and just kind of blending the edges here, very light-handed. I have like a tendency to wanna just like go in like heavy, and I feel like that is when I get the worst looks. Something about the lightest pressure works wonders. But for some reason, I'm like programmed to push hard. It's like in my brain, I'm like, if I push harder, it'll blend better, but it really doesn't. You just kind of want to let the brush do the work. Okay, so once we've kind of blended the first layer, I'm going back in, and I'm using actually a flat brush now because I really want this to be deep. So packing it on again, and then we'll just do the same blending. Back in, and we're just going to do the same thing we just did. And then you can go in with your first brush and really make sure that your edges look nice. You can even go back in with those lighter shades to really soften everything. So now that we have a rough blend on top, I want to go into the center shade, which will be that kind of green multi-chrome. So it is this shade right here. So this is what it swatches like. It's very smooth. There's no kick up in the pan. So we're just gonna go in dry first. Very pretty. Blends very smoothly. It's not chunky at all. Like at all. There's been some shimmers in her other palettes that are really almost soft, and if you push too hard, they kind of move around and crumble. This one is not that way. It's very smooth. So this is still dry. Let's go ahead and do the other side. It really does blend in beautifully with these colors. So I have a little bit of it on a wet brush. My bulldog is snoring so loud. If you hear that or you're new, I have a English bulldog that just lives it. He just lives. He snores like a freight train. And I can hear it. It's very distracting, but you know, gotta love it. So I don't really think that did much. It did maybe amp it up a little bit, but I don't see much of a difference, but it is a beautiful high shine shade. So I went ahead and put some lashes on. These are the style San Diego. These are from Lily Lashes, the synthetic. They just sent me like a bunch of them, so I've been trying them out, and I want to start finishing up the look with the lower lash line. I actually am going to go into this kind of orangey shade down here. I'm just going to use the same brush I was using, and I'm just going to put this on the lower lash line. This palette is so just unique. I want to do like a purple look next and use the peachy tones in here, but I really like the kind of green that we have going on, and I don't want to mess it up. I just wanted to have a little bit of an undertone here, maybe that is a little bit different. Next, I want to go back into this kind of mustard lime color, and I'm just going to do the same thing. You can see the powder fly here, which again, it's not a big deal, but you may want to do your eyes first. And then I'm going to dip back into the deepest color, and I'm going to start applying this very close to the lash line. And then I'm taking a pencil brush and blending that out a little bit, and then we'll kind of keep building it. There's a bunch of kids outside, by the way, screaming bloody murder. So if you hear that, I'm just glad that they're playing outside, I guess, but they've been screaming this whole time, and I'm like, alrighty then. I am gonna go back into the green multi-chrome. I'm just gonna apply this to the like inner portion of the lower lash line. To finish off, I wanna go in with this ColourPop Cream Gel Liner in Crybaby. So I'm not doing it heavily, just lightly here. Just to add a little bit of brightness to the waterline. I didn't wanna go deep and smoky. All right, guys, here's my finished makeup look using the new Natasha Denona TrioChrome Palette. I did change up my lip. I will link down below what I changed it to. I just felt like the other one didn't go right. Starting off with the pros of this palette, the packaging is beautiful. It really goes with the theme. It is that kind of duochrome look. Feels nice and expensive, because it is. So this is what you can expect from Natasha. Secondly, everything blended beautifully. The mattes were crazy pigmented, super easy to work with. I didn't have a ton of fallout in the TrioChrome or the multi-chromes. They were just really nice and beautiful on the eyes. Very easy to work with, and that's what I love about her shadows. I love the color stories, but I also love the quality, and that really is there. I really wish she would have marketed this palette at a $65 price point. These are such interesting shades. They're multi-chromes. This is not gonna be an everyday palette for most consumers, so it's not like we need more pans or more eyeshadow, whereas like I could see with the Glam or the Bronze palette, people might hit pan on their favorite shades more so than this one, but also just to make it more accessible to everybody to try it out and to have a fun, you know, duochrome palette in their collection. My second complaint is that there's only 3 multi-chromes in the palette, so having 12 mattes but only 3 multi-chromes seems a little bit just off balance to me. I would have liked to seen maybe the entire middle row here, so 5 multi-chromes. The whole kind of vibe is multi-chrome. It would have been nice to have more of those. My last complaint is just the lack of depth in this palette. I just don't know if people that have deeper skin tones are going to be able to use a lot of these colors. There's really only a couple deep ones in this palette, and even me using the deepest green shade, I have a light skin tone and I feel like it's not even really that deep, so this would really show up pastel, I would say, on a lot of skin tones. So just keep that in mind. So other than that, in terms of how this worked, blended beautifully. I feel like the eye look came out just as I expected it to come out. I didn't have any problems with it, but it's a high price tag and it's only gonna work for certain skin tones. So you have to be, you know, the judge if you're gonna pick this up or not. I will say if you are going to, the Sephora sale ends on November 9th. Maybe go in store if you can and swatch it and see what you think, or wait for some more reviews. But I mean, I'm happy with the palette. I'm happy to have it. Do want to do more looks. Let me know if you want some more. I'm thinking of diving into the purples, obviously, because today was all about the green. But I hope this gave you some insight, just the swatches and seeing how the shadows perform. I will link everything I used today down below. Thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.